Welcome to our first how to study definiteness across languages. We first review two basic ways of investigating definiteness across languages and then present iterated translation mining as a superior extension. This is Jeff, and he has just received an assignment from his Linguistics 101 teacher. He has to study definiteness in Mandarin. After careful reflection, Jeff realizes that English has definite articles. He then finds a native speaker, called Xiaoli, and asks her whether Mandarin has definite articles. Xiaoli answers no. Jeff concludes that definiteness does not exist in Mandarin and writes a paper about, well, practically nothing. Unsurprisingly, Jeff gets not too high a grade from his teacher. Here's Jeff again. You can see that he's not happy and that he really wants to have another go at it. After careful reflection, he comes up with a new idea. He finds a grammar of English, looks up when the definite article is used, and asks Xiaoli, his new friend, how she would translate the in these contexts. Jeff writes a paper and passes with a good grade. There's, however, so much more he could have done. Let me walk you through possible extensions. Jeff could easily have extended his research further by looking separately at the forms Xiaoli translated, and not only in those contexts in which they appear as translations of the. He could also repeat the same procedure for the complement of the definite article, a. Jeff would then have used and the as seed words to establish the use of all items that are related in some way or other to definiteness as we find it in the English article system. Pushing things even further, he could have looked into the English translations of the translations of and the to establish all items that are related in some way or other to Mandarin definiteness. Jeff would then have built in an iteration that guarantees a two-way contrastive analysis. With the right friends, Jeff could even have looked into translations of and the relevant Mandarin forms in other typologically distant languages, performed the relevant iterations, and established a truly cross-linguistic network of items expressing definiteness and the contexts they occur in. All these extensions are incorporated into iterated translation mining that still goes one step further. Instead of looking into a grammar to discover in which predefined contexts an item occurs, iterated translation mining uses translation corpora and looks into real contexts. The scary thing about this is that the number of relevant contexts exponentially increases, and that the researcher is left with the task of defining what it is that is relevant in all these contexts. There is, however, a major payoff. Instead of forcing us as researchers to work with predefined, language-specific notions, we get a wealth of data that allows us to derive the relevant cross-linguistically validated notions ourselves. Iterated translation mining also helps researchers manage the gigantic amount of context form mappings by providing powerful visualizations of automatically generated clusterings of all contexts. These clusterings are based on a distance measure that is calculated by comparing all contexts to each other and measuring the variation in forms between them. Under the assumption that variation in form is indicative of variation in meaning, this distance measure is then one that indicates semantic distance. Iterated translation mining furthermore automatically enriches these visualizations by mapping forms onto the clusterings and providing access to the data per context at the click of a mouse. The output of this how-to is a collection of real contexts, clustered based on the way their translations vary across languages and the mappings of forms onto these clusters. It's the basic data we need to allow for a real, cross-linguistically validated analysis of definiteness and leave Jeff's original work far behind us.